Hello, I'm Sarah Hammond from English Peonies, which is a small flower company on the North Norfolk coast where we grow seasonal flowers and I do floristry. So for most of the year I'm arranging flowers for bouquets, weddings, funerals and major events. However, at Christmas we make wreaths, and what I'm going to do today is show you how you can make your own wreath using natural ingredients which you will be able to find around you. So what we've got here today is we've got a selection of foliages and berries. We've got rose hips, we've got some olive, some box, eucalyptus, and then over here we've got bay and different sorts of fir. So we've got some Leylandi, some juniper, and some Christmas tree spruce, as well as box and ivy berries. The wreath that we're going to do today is designed to be used as a table decoration. So it's going to end up looking like this. If you wanted to make a larger one, this is what a larger scale version would look like, and this is designed to hang on your front door. But the technique is the same. We start off with a wire base here, and onto this we firstly make ourselves a base which we're going to put the moss onto. So we take our wire and we go round the base, and then we use moss to form a firm base for our stems to rest on. The reason we're using moss rather than oasis is because floral foam is very toxic, and this gives something which is sustainable and which will biodegrade naturally. This moss has come from Northumberland. It's been sustainably grown and is sent down on a pallet for the Flowers from the Farm members, of which I'm part of. So we buy a large consignment at the start of Christmas each year. What you do is you put your moss onto your frame in sausage shapes until you end up with a base that looks like this. So we have a firm base which we can now use to put our ingredients on. This is going to be a mini wreath which is designed to put on a plate as a table arrangement with a small candle in the middle, or you could put a larger hurricane light depending on what you'd like to do. But going back to our wreath base, the first thing we need to do is to make bundles of foliage which we're going to attach. And I've cut small lengths of different foliages here from the range that we've got on the table. So for the table here, I'm going to use rosemary and fir and bay and a bit of this lovely variegated holly. I'm going to avoid putting ivy into this because it's designed to be put on a table, and ivy is poisonous, so it's not something that you would necessarily want mixed up with your food. And that's something to always be aware of if you're using flowers on anything which is edible. It's just to check that they are not poisonous, as many things are. So I've put this little bundle of foliage together. I've secured the ends with a bit of wire, and I'm now going to attach them to this wreath base. So I'm going to start by angling the stems onto the base. The wire is still attached that I've used to put the moss on the base, and so I'm just going to put my first bundle like that on the base. I've made a few up earlier, as you can see here, and I'm just going to go round the base, attaching the bundles as I go. And I'm also going to think about how I want these to look. These are different. Some of them have got sea lavender in, they've got viburnum, and they've got eucalyptus. So I want to make a pattern where it's not going to be the same all the way around. So we angle the stems onto the base, covering up the stems of the previous bundle by the bundle that we're putting on. And I also put the stems in different directions depending on whether we want to cover the outside of the ring or the inside of the ring. The moss is decorative, so don't worry too much about making sure that there's none visible, because it doesn't matter if you can see it. We make lots of these arrangements at Christmas. People find that they can keep them going over the festive period, and all you'll need to do with them is to just spray them lightly with water, and that will just give them enough moisture, because you've got the moisture already in the base here. And the other thing that you can do is just pick up the whole arrangement and put it in a large bowl of water for a minute, and that allows the moss to rehydrate if it starts to dry out in a warm room. So as you can see, I'm just placing these round the base, and I'm putting them all in the same direction, because that actually makes it look much more even than it might do if they went in different directions. As you can see, now I'm moving right round to the end here. Now I've just got space for my last two bunches. And these foliages were all gathered in Norfolk. Some is some sea lavender, which I've had since the summer, and then we've got shrubs from the farm, and the pine has come from a local plantation where I trade cutting some branches for wreaths which I make for their family. We're based on a farm, so there are plenty of hedgerows which I can use as well, which is really lucky. Right, so here we are. We've got right round the wreath. If you can see, that's quite even. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to finish off the wire. So I'm going to cut the wire, and then we're going to thread this back into the wreath. And I don't tend to add any artificial ingredients to the wreaths I make at Christmas. What I do like to do is to pop in one or two fresh flowers, and I would normally do this just before we're going to use it. And when you finish, just tweak little bits that might not be the way that you want them to be, or any leaves that look slightly ragged. So that's your basic finished wreath. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to add a few paper white narcissi to this. So these have come from Cornwall. They were grown in the Scilly Isles, and I buy them every every Christmas. Now, it looks quite strange what I've just done because they have very soft stems and I want them to stand in my moss. I've put a skewer up their hollow stem, and that will just help to support the flower in the moss. It doesn't stop it drinking, it'll be absolutely fine. And it's the same technique that you'd use if you were using amaryllis. It's slightly long, and I can just use my snips to cut that a bit smaller. So we've just got a paper white there, and what I'll do is I'll go around the wreath and I'll pop these in little groups. Again, I'm just going to pop something in there to support its stem. I'm using this tent peg to make holes in the moss, because I want these narcissi to actually be in the moss, where the moss will provide them with the moisture they need. And that's a technique that you use if you're making other arrangements using moss as a base. Right. Okay, so I've put 2 in here, and what I'll do is I'll put in some more just before I use this, but I wanted you to see what I was doing. And this will now sit on a plate. You can use any plate to do this, and then we'll put a small candle in the middle in a votive. So this is a Christmas table decoration which you can make yourself, and you can add whatever ingredients you like to it, and then you can add additional flowers on the morning before your lunch. I'll just pop that there on the table so that you can see it.